I've never been hit with a taser, but I'm 120,000% certain it's not pleasant. But there could be a new tool on the way for Springfield police that would not be as painful as a taser, or could it be? I don't know. You tell me. 217-629-7970. That's the phone number here with Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY. Springfield's News and Talk, and the issue of bola wraps. These are new devices that the City of Springfield Police Department is getting in hand, and whether or not they're going to deploy these, we shall see. They're apparently still testing them. The department says that they're testing the devices not yet deployed on the streets. Now, what is a bola wrap? We'll hear from one of the industry producers of this with a promotional video they put out on YouTube not long ago. But it's something that there's been a lot of criticism of the use of tasers by law enforcement, and I'm curious to find out from you at 217-629-7970, your thoughts on this. Should these bola wraps replace the taser? Or should it just be another tool on a police officer's tool belt? And I bet that utility belt, it's getting more and more devices on it, very similar to for instance, Batman. So should they supplement their tools with this, or should they just go ahead and replace the taser, for instance, with these bola wraps? So what exactly is a bola wrap? Here is the bola wrap industry in a video giving some information about the difference between one model versus another, but they kind of explain exactly from the industry standards what this device is. So here's a promotional video.
During deployment of the bola wrap 100 cartridge, a large charge from the 380 blank propels the anchors in sync. Through two electronically deployed independent micro gas generators, the tethered anchors of the bola wrap 150 cassette have a delayed offset deployment, meaning one anchor is deployed microseconds ahead of the second anchor to ensure an optimal flight path. The new metal injection molded single-piece anchors with included safety caps lower the risk of piercing the skin, both for the wrapped subject and the officer removing the tether using the integrated anchor removal tool from the cassette shipping cover. The power safe mode automatically turns the device off after 5 minutes of inactivity, helping to extend the battery life. And speaking of battery life, we've increased it by a factor of 10. This, along with the included replaceable battery pack.
It's the industry talking about their tool and something that I think is rather fascinating. We may cue that back up just to kind of get the description of this tool again in front of you out there. But I'm curious your thoughts. Should we replace the taser with this, or is this something that should just supplement the tools that local law enforcement have? And I'm curious, can private citizens buy these bola wraps? I'm sure there's some of you out there who'd like to have some. Why not? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
There's a lot of non-lethal weapons out there that they should be investigating, and I think they could always supplement. But a bola wrap's not really going to do a whole lot in close quarters. That's one thing about a taser. If you're looking at, let's say, the jail, and you're looking at prisoners in a cell, a bola wrap needs a certain amount of space between the officer and the individual you're trying to wrap up to work, and he has to be far enough away from walls and other objects in order for it to not get tangled up. So a taser is actually a very useful tool.
Especially close up, like you're saying. I mean, there's instances where law enforcement have somebody restrained, and they just can't get their arms to where they need to be able to handcuff them. They're grappling on the ground. I can't tell you how many police body cam videos I've seen of police deploying their tasers in those situations to get a suspect to comply with the police's lawful orders of putting your hands behind your back, you're under arrest. I don't see these necessarily performing that function of that close quarter combat.
People forget why we have a taser, and that's because before the only item that we had was a billy club. That meant hit them.
Yeah.
So, you know what? When people say, a taser is not very fair, it's like, well, let's get rid of the taser. Now what do you want to do? Oh, we'll just beat them until their submission. I like the
Yeah, and
taser.
I don't think that's the answer either. Appreciate the call. 217-629-7970 is the phone number. Do you think these bola wraps should supplement or replace one of the other tools on a law enforcement's tool belt? And these bola wraps, again, are devices that have a wire that shoots out and spreads out and wraps around a suspect's body, be it their arms, be it their legs, and works to try to limit that suspect's mobility. Again, here's just a little bit from an industry video talking about the bola wrap and how the bola wrap operates.
During deployment of the BolaWrap 100 cartridge, a large charge from the 380 blank propels the anchors in sync. Through two electronically deployed independent micro gas generators, the tethered anchors of the BolaWrap 150 cassette have a delayed offset deployment, meaning one anchor is deployed microseconds ahead of the second anchor to ensure an optimal flight path. The new metal injection molded single-piece anchors with included safety caps lower the risk of piercing the skin.
I bet, you know what? These would probably be good for ranchers, maybe. I don't know. It's like a lasso almost, except, it sends out the wire and wraps around. And this is something that Springfield police are getting their hands on and possibly going to be implementing in their efforts to continue to combat crime. Your thoughts on this? 217-629-7970. We've heard a lot of criticism about tasers being considered a less lethal, and I use air quotes there, because there have been instances where people have died after being tased. So this is something else to help alleviate those concerns within the community of the use of tasers. But as we heard earlier, it's not necessarily great for close quarter combat when you've got individuals that are not cooperating with police, even when the police are on top of them. Let's get more of your phone calls. 217-629-7970. Good morning.
Good morning, Greg. Hey, I tell you what, interesting topic today. Hey, I've got to tell you, though, when I was younger, those bola wraps worked. I made one of those and had my little sister run across the yard at full sprint. It wrapped up perfectly, and down she went. Of course, I got in trouble. But, hey, I got to say, though, I'm with your previous caller. Hey, I don't say they have to replace it, but the officers need things at their disposal. Let them get what they're proficient with, practice with something. Of course, the more they use it, the better off they'll get. And, hey, it's just one tool in their toolbox. You don't have to use every tool you have, Right. Let them equip themselves best they can.
Right on. Got you down. Appreciate the call. 217-629-7970. Your thoughts? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Well, good morning, Greg. This comes from, they used to use this back in, I think, Aborigines or whoever in Australia used that to catch kangaroos, the same concept.
Yeah.
And later on, which might become an issue, they used it in the slave trade because that's how they capture slaves in countries like Africa or wherever. And so I would think that sooner or later someone's going to bring that issue up and say this is basically a racist tool because
Well, people already say that about police in general, that, the law enforcement tradition started whenever, farmers who had slaves wanted to go and capture those slaves. So that's always going to work into it. But, I mean, in modern day society, obviously we have crime that's on the streets. That's a problem, and something that law enforcement are going to have to continue to tackle. But they've got these new tools, at least for Springfield police, the bola wraps. Whether or not they deploy them on the streets, we shall see. But they're testing them. And have you been tangled up in a bola wrap? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Do you remember the movie Romancing the Stone?
Oh, yeah. Michael Douglas and what's her name? Come on.
Catherine.
It's something. Right. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you'll remember in the scene, there was a kid who's standing on the street and he's swinging this rope round and round and round and round and round, right. Throws it, and it wraps around. That's a bola.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, exactly right. Very simple technology. This tool, though, allows for more precision. It's got laser guided. It's got a laser guided ejection. And yeah, it's essentially that. It's just a much more modern tool. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's all it is. It's something that wraps around you and holds on. just a complex way of delivering it. But you know what? It's a lot easier than trying to teach somebody how to swing it around their head.
Well, and I didn't realize it's got hooks on it. It's got hooks, and the video shows the hooks being removed from individuals' jeans. It's kind of fascinating. I appreciate the call, 217-629-7970. Springfield Police getting their hands on these devices, bola wraps. Should they be on the streets with law enforcement and possibly replace one of the devices they have on their utility belt, or should it just be another piece of the tools that law enforcement have? 217-629-7970. Sheriff Jack Campbell says that he wants to see how the devices are implemented before he considers buying them for the sheriff's department, but Springfield Police have these devices. So appreciate everybody sounding off, and of course you can always email bishoponair@gmail.com or follow me on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and we can connect that way. Again, 217-629-7970 is how you chime in live and local on Springfield's Morning News. I'm Greg Bishop on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News and